the way that President William Ruto would have presented the State of the Nation address. Remember, this has been the most difficult 8 months, I think, of his life. Whether you look at the Gen Z protests, you look at how many changes he's had to manage, whether you look at cabinet and what he's had to change, he had to come up with a speech that actually inspires the Kenyan people. But there's something that really struck me very hard. A few weeks ago, the price of petrol dropped by 8 shillings. It did not change the economic conversation in this country. And I asked myself, is there a possibility that we have a government and a population that are speaking, but they're not speaking the same language? So, for example, when he talks about the dollar dropping to 129, it is true. It has affected lots of our business and stabilized lots of the business. But does the average Kenyan feel and see that? The answer for many, by and large, is no. So there seems to be a disconnect between the ability that William Ruto has always had to connect with the people, which is what he has done before, and that connection translating right now to him connecting to the people. Simply because, and as a strategist I'll tell you, after that speech, you ask Kenyans what he said, they will all tell you he spoke about Adani. What else did he say? They don't remember. Now, why is Adani the one that they remember? They remember because they feel the president had them, rightfully so. So what I think is, I don't think President Ruto had a choice in the kind of speech he was going to give. But I think he really needs to stick to a salient point he himself talked about. He said he listens to the people, he listens to the church, and wants to hear their opinion. If the president does not actually effectively show Kenyans that he actually listens to them, and Adani is not the only time he's listening to them, then he will be in big trouble. But if he holds to his word, as the same way he's listened to Kenyans about Adani, and continues to listen to Kenyans, and indeed listens to the church, then his presidency will have a breath of fresh air.
Professor, as we pick up from where we left, what do you make of that State of the Nation address? And is the president now perhaps seemingly looking like he is listening, and, you know, with the actions and his speeches that he's been giving lately?
I think he does. He looks like he's listening, except, you know, that's not the first time the president has retraced his steps. It's a very bad reflection on those people who guided the president, because one of the responsibilities of an advisor to the president is to make sure that you never embarrass your boss, that you protect your boss. So it's an indication that the people around him were not honest with him on those transactions which he has now cancelled, and therefore cancelling them is probably not enough. He needs to rethink the structure of the people around him. Because the fact that he says this was wrong, I stopped, like, you know, cancelling the Finance Bill 2024, then the Adani project, it simply is an indication that either he did not make good choices for those who guide him, or he did not listen to their advice, or they are incompetent. They are not able to guide him. So when all this taken together, it's not a good reflection on the state, because any action taken by the government, because it costs the public money, it ought to be thought through very carefully. It's supposed to be surgically planned so that there is no room for error. So when we see all these mistakes, then it raises a lot of questions about the people around the president, and that's why listening to the church and listening to the Kenyans with a different viewpoint, it becomes crucial for this presidency for the remaining time.
Indeed. And, you know, that is, of course, staying with you, Prof, what do you think perhaps is the future with all this conversation on Adani? Did Kenyans need to read much in the what was trending over the, you know, after that quashing, the quote-unquote, the exit clause?